Good morning, everybody. I'm Ariel Clifton with GCC STEM Connect. This is the STEM Connect Student Success Summer Bridge. And this is our session on what can you do with a major in biology. And I'm happy to introduce two of our GCC biology faculty, Professor Jessica Gano. Am I saying that right, Gano?
That's pretty close. It's Gano,
No.
but
Okay, thank you. And Professor Nick Baker. So hand off to both of you.
Should I go first, Jessica?
sure.
Okay.
Wait, did you say you're going first?
No, I said, would you like to? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sure, I'll go first. So I'm Jessica Gano, and I have my bachelor's degree in biology, obviously. A little bit about my background. When I was in your position, kind of thinking about, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to major in, I was interested in healthcare. So originally, I thought I wanted to be a pharmacist. So, a lot of pharmacy programs don't actually require you to have a degree. They require a couple years of undergrad and then the prereqs. So, that's what I was planning on doing. And then the summer between my freshman and sophomore years of college, I worked in a pharmacy. And I just really didn't think it was a good fit for me. I didn't, like it. I couldn't picture myself doing that for the rest of my life. So, one thing I want to mention to you guys is that it's a really good idea as you're thinking about what you want to do some shadowing. And, when you're doing your shadowing, definitely ask some pointed questions because when somebody's shadowing you, there's a tendency to kind of tell them all the good things about the job, but you want to know the good things, but you want to know the bad things too. So kind of ask them, is there anything you don't like about your job? Things like that, so that you can kind of get that really full picture as you're making the decision about what you want to do. So after working in a pharmacy, I decided, this isn't for me. So I went to my advisor at the beginning of my sophomore year and I said, I'm still interested in healthcare. I don't know exactly what I want to do though. And he recommended that I switch to a biology major. And that was actually really good advice. Biology is a really good major if you're interested in healthcare, especially if you're interested in some kind of advanced degree healthcare, like maybe you want to be a doctor, a dentist, a vet, nurse practitioner, physician's assistant. Those are all programs where a biology major is a really good option because as you're taking classes working towards your major, you're often kind of knocking out those prereqs that you have to get to apply to those programs. And the other reason I think biology is a really good major for pre-health is you really need that foundation in biology once you get into those programs. You're going to take a lot of biology still once you're in there, and having that good foundation really helps you out. So I switched to biology major and I did some more, I did some shadowing. I shadowed a dentist. I did a hospital internship program because I was thinking about maybe being a doctor. And I eventually settled on dentistry. So I went to dental school, got my dental degree. I did a residency program after that, and then I practiced for a couple years. And as I was practicing, I just still wasn't really happy with what I was doing day to day. I wasn't feeling that job satisfaction. And so I started thinking, is there anything else I could do? I have my biology degree, I have my dental degree, and I saw an ad for teaching anatomy and physiology at Glendale Community College. So I applied for that job. They have you do a little presentation at your interview, so I did that. And I ended up getting a job teaching anatomy and physiology a couple days a week at GCC. And my first semester teaching college biology, it was really scary. It was really new. It was a lot of hard work, but I just absolutely loved it from day one. And so I knew that was what I actually wanted to do all the time. And so when a full-time position opened up, I applied for it and ended up getting it. And so for me, my biology degree has been pretty versatile for me. It allowed me to really have kind of two different careers first as a dentist and now as a college biology teacher, which is obviously what I'm still doing, still love it. So that's my background. So Nick, feel free to go next.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree 100% with everything that Jessica said about having a biology major if you're thinking about going into the medical field of any sort. It really does cover all the prereqs that you're going to need. I went a little different route. I have a bachelor's in medical microbiology. Well, I found out the hard way. I did not, and this is my biggest piece of advice I give my students every semester is, and I didn't follow this, and this is why I give it, is that you really need to find a lab or something where you can go in and do some work a couple hours a week. Most labs will take you for 5 to 10 hours, and that will really give you the experience. So when you do graduate, someone will be willing to take you into their lab, whether it's academia or the private sector. My problem, because I did not do that, it took me about 2 years after graduating to actually finally get a job in a microbiology lab. And that was actually at Shamrock Farms, the milk producers. And so, my first job working in there was doing microbial tests of the lines, the systems, and the only fun part I actually enjoyed was doing the taste testing of new products, and then ones that were at their expiration date and ones that were a week past their expiration date. So you just kind of move the bacteria around and then taste underneath it and say, hey, is this still good or no? So that was fun. But at that point, again, I was working in a lab where, in all honesty, the supervisor I had, we didn't get along too well. So I told myself it's time for me to go back to school to get a higher degree so I can kind of be the boss person. That's exactly my mind. So I went back, and that's where I met my PI, my mentor, Dr. Guramdam, and she worked with honeybees. And she said, hey, I've got research opportunities. If anyone's interested, just talk to me after class. I was the only person who went to talk to her after class. And because of my past experience, I knew I needed research. And she goes, hey, we work with honeybees. Yeah, how do you feel about that? And I said, well, I don't know. The only time I have experience with honeybees is stepping on one when I was about 10. And I just remember that hurting like hell. And I said, let's do it. So she threw me in there, and I actually had to learn beekeeping before I could do any of the molecular research that we were doing. So I started off as the scrub, building beekeeping equipment, learning how to take care and tend to bees. And then that turned into, hey, we need to do RNA extraction. So let's go ahead, Nick, and pull the bees apart, do dissections, rip out their little fat bodies, which are similar to our liver. And then that eventually formed into me earning a position full-time in the lab, and my professor paid for me to do my master's. So my master's cost me nothing out of my own pocket because she saw the wonderful work that I did and how dedicated I was to what we were doing. And that led to an amazing thesis, which also sent me off to live in Norway for a few summers, where I exchanged my skills that I was using to work on my thesis with the lab members over there. The reason I got to go there too is my professor was from Norway. She already had a residency at the Norwegian Biological Institute, and she also had a residency at Arizona State University. So because of that, she would send me over there during the summer, because as a grad student, you don't get much of a stipend to live off of, and you do not get paid during the summer. So that was my chance to go somewhere and get paid during the summer. I got to travel all around. That was my favorite part. And then I stayed in academia after my thesis, and I stayed working at ASU doing molecular research with honeybees for about 8 or 9 years. And then, in all honesty, I got a little burnt out, so I left. And then, I moved to Japan for a year, and when I came back, I decided I wanted to use my knowledge of honeybees and behavioral biology, because that was the other thing that we study was behavior of honeybees, and how that can affect RNA levels of certain kinds of gene expressions. And I decided to use that, and I started my own little farming beekeeping company, and I did that for 5 years, where I managed roughly 200 to 300 beehives. I would move them between here, California, Texas, and all over Arizona to either pollinate crops or just to produce honey. And it's a great job. I love doing it. I still help my friends, but after a few scary accidents, I decided to kind of walk away. And at the same time, while I was doing the beekeeping, I also taught part-time, like Jessica, for Maricopa, and I taught at MCC, Phoenix College, for a few years. As a part-time gig, and I fell in love with teaching, and actually I fell in love with it during grad school, because part of graduate school, at least in the research field, you have to do one semester as a research assistant, an RA, and then the next semester as a teaching assistant, a TA. And so my teaching skills started actually in grad school, but it wasn't until I started working at Phoenix College for a couple of years as an adjunct while also running my beekeeping operation, uh, that full-time position came up as well, and I applied for it, and it just happened to work out that I sold off my bees and stuff. And then the following year, I happened to get a full-time residency teaching, and I'm here now teaching. I love it. We're actually in my Bio 156 class. This fall semester, we're going to be doing some research with honeybees. So I've got honeybees coming in. We're gonna keep cages with a few of them, and then we'll be doing some dissections and looking at bacterial and fungal counts with several different diets that we're gonna feed the bees and see if they actually affect the bacterial or fungal counts within them. So bee biology is very diverse. I have many people that I work with in the lab. They now work in research. One of my friends, Florian, he actually worked on the Pfizer vaccine. So you can go that route. I've got other friends who still just kind of continue to do fun things like take videos of how insects fly, and they just work on stuff like that. So it's just a huge field, and just getting a general degree in biology will really open the door to just about anything, whether it's research, medicine, or even going into the private sector and taking that knowledge like me to do beekeeping as a full-time gig, because I knew about honeybees. I know their behavior. I can look at a beehive without opening it and tell you if there's already a problem or not with it. So again, biggest piece of advice, find a professor you enjoy, whether it's a university or at the college. And if they're doing research and it's something you find cool, solicit them and ask them if you can come in just for 5 or 10 hours a week and get that started for yourself. And I'll leave it at that. I think you're muted.
Yes, I am. Trying to, stop the feedback, from interfering. But in the chat, Dominic had said, would that be included in biology? Maybe, I think he means mycology. Dominic, let me know if I'm understanding your question correctly. While we let Dominic respond, I was just going to mention, I find it interesting, and I like that both of you have mentioned about getting some experience and exposure. And Nick's case, it's, getting into the lab. And obviously something about it is, or that perspective on it is related to getting the experience, and probably as well that network, so that's easier when you graduate. And Jessica's on the other side is, more like, get that exposure of shadowing, or somehow get a taste so you see whether or not it's a good fit for you. And that's one of the themes that we've kind of been talking about throughout the week, is finding ways to dive in and sort of taste, things, so that you can get a sense of whether or not it's a good fit. And if it is, you start continuing to grow your network and grow your experience. We wanted to see Dominic did respond. Okay, actually you both did. Okay, so yes, his question was, yes, would mycology be included in biology? And Nick, you already responded, yes, it would fall under bio as a more specific category. And then Dominic's asked, same for biochemical engineering. Other
Oh, sorry. I was just going to write back in there. I mean, all these are great, biochemical engineering, all that. When you go to transferring to a university for things like that, they typically have in their catalogs specific programs. So you could find a biochemical engineering degree, most likely at ASU or U of A, NAU, any of those. And those would be more specific and streamlined for you to follow into that. Whereas just a biology degree is going to give you all those general requisites. And then as you go into maybe a master's or doctorate program, you could then kind of, streamline more towards that biochemical. But there are degrees where, or programs for undergrads that follow those specific categories, I guess.
Okay. Other questions? Maybe, and while we're waiting for other questions, maybe if you like, either of you would like, or maybe both of you would like to expand more on the different avenues that a student can go with the degree, with a major in biology. I know we've touched on a little bit that it's a great preparation for many of like the graduate, health related fields like medical school, dental school, pharmacy, and veterinary school. And by the way, we did last summer, we did sessions with reps from those different schools about how to get into those schools. And we've got replays for any students who are interested in those. But if either of you would like to, talk about other possibilities with the biology degree.
I can go first if you want. Obviously, what we were kind of talking about, what Ariel was just saying about, if you're interested in sort of advanced degree healthcare, it's a good option. But also, if you're just sort of interested in some other aspects of healthcare, like, biology degree can be helpful even if you're wanting to go into medical sales, or pharmaceutical sales. Having a background where you can talk a little bit more competently about anatomy, physiology, healthcare, that can kind of set you apart from other applicants. Even administrative positions in, healthcare clinics or hospitals, going into administrative positions in public health. I think that biology, is a good degree to kind of take you in those directions as well.
Yeah, same here. I would say the same, that you can really branch out almost anywhere, especially in research. And research, I mean, that spans everything from just researching proteins and how they interact with the body, or genetic markers. Molecular biology is a huge field now. Bioengineering, as someone already mentioned, that one's really big. Jessica mentioned pharmaceutical sales. Actually, one of the first positions I applied for after graduating, while I was still in graduate school, graduating from my bachelor's, but I was in graduate school, was actually selling microscopes for Olympia. And if you have a background and you can talk about science, those are the type of special fields that you can go into. Pharmaceutical sales, as mentioned. uh, Infectious diseases. That was one of the reasons why I did microbiology. I was really interested in infectious diseases and how they spread. Um, Trying to think what else here. Food quality control, as I mentioned, working for Shamrock Farms. It doesn't have to just be a company like that. I mean, Frito-Lay, other places like that. I mean, there's even a Frito-Lay plant, I believe, in Casa Grande. Farming is a big one, as you mentioned, veterinary, and you can specialize in large animals or small animals. I can tell you right now, there's a lot of farmers who still need more veterinarians that can do large animals like cows and horses and things. Um, I'll Bioengineering, so making new things. We've got these wonderful new computer systems and printers that can start printing organs. Well, that came about from people studying things like bioengineering. I mean, quite honestly, the sky's the limit when it comes to biology and where you can really find yourself fall. If you had talked to me while I was still in my bachelor's degree and someone mentioned to me that I was going to be a beekeeper, I would have laughed. I had no idea what beekeepers did. And then when I went to graduate school, next thing you know, now I've been a beekeeper for 16 years. And although I'm away from it, I still find reasons to go help my friends with their bees when I can. And it feels nice to be able to come home at the end of the night and not have to worry about it anymore. But yeah, it's biology is a great, wonderful, diverse field.
Actually, there's a related question in the chat. What is most rewarding about bee transport?
Bee transport rewarding. I guess it's once you put those bees down and they go to work and and you're able to pull the honey supers off of them, 2 or 3 weeks later, and then you've got an amazing product that you can sell. But bee transport, just if you want to know about commercial beekeeping, any kind of farming, quite honestly, is a lot of work, and you work around the honeybees themselves. Okay, so if something needs to be done, it's not, hey, I'm going to wait till the weekend to go do it. It's got to get done that day. And when you move bees, you do it at night. So that was one of the other reasons why I stepped away. I was out talking to a farmer. I severed my Achilles tendon, and typically at night, I would go out there by myself, load bees onto a truck, using a forklift and a big trailer, and then drive them through the middle of the night. And I couldn't imagine myself if I had a load of bees on a truck and I jumped off the truck and my Achilles had popped then, rather than doing it in the middle of the day where I was lucky and could drive myself to the hospital. So, transporting bees to California or Texas, you've got to get up before the sun rises and start driving, and you've got to time it right so the sun goes down before you stop. Because bees don't fly when it's nighttime. They all come home and kind of roost inside the hive when it's dark out. So you transport at night, and I can tell you, driving from Santan up to Holbrook, that's about a 4 or 5 hour drive, and then driving home, you're up, from about 24 to 30 some hours at a time without sleep. And it's taxing on the body, but it's rewarding. It feels good when your bees do what they're supposed to.
Well, we're just a few minutes before 11. Any either parting thoughts or any additional questions?
It was Rachel.
The comment that sounds like a lot of sacrifice. But it sounds like it's still cool. All right, I thank you both very much. We really appreciate your time and sharing your advice and your journey.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks. I love talking biology anytime I can.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Everyone have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.